Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Muffson from the Nerd Blast. I am here to talk to you guys about what my thoughts are on the Suicide Squad, which just came out this month. And we're going to be joined by some special guests today. You guys may have seen them in my early videos. We did a review a couple months ago with Mortal Kombat, and they are back. So let me introduce to you guys. It's big, big gold belt media, Nagier himself, and Gotham
Hello.
Geek Girl.
Hey guys, how's it going?
How you guys doing?
What's up, buddy?
Good.
I am good, man. I cannot wait to talk about this movie. So if you guys are not aware, the Suicide Squad is basically pretty much a team up ensemble piece. It basically is kind of a sequel to David Ayer's The Suicide Squad back in 2017. The premise is basically the same. It's the government has a program where they basically hire a bunch of supervillains to do some missions that are deemed impossible or point of no return, where they could pretty much be dead if all goes loose. But if they don't comply with their missions, then they get the death. But yeah, so we got a bunch of characters from the previous films making a comeback, but we also have some new ones as well. Some villains that not everyone will probably get to know or are familiar with. I'm certainly not familiar with much of these supervillains, but in any case, they still work out pretty well, and a lot of surprises. But I just want to get straight to it. What did you guys think of the movie?
I'll go. So I actually liked it more than I thought I was going to. Typically, like I said with DC movies, I go in with a very open mind and not very high expectations. But this film, I consider it kind of like a standalone. It's kind of like a sequel, kind of like a reboot, but it's kind of a standalone film. But I think it was a huge improvement from the last Suicide Squad movie. And I think that James Gunn did a really great job with this movie. I actually really enjoyed it. I think he had a great balance of comedy and a lot of gore and a lot of elements from DC Comics. And he even made things like his own spin. Like the roster that he used are not characters that you would expect. So even though the first movie technically had a better character roster and more familiar characters, what he did with this film, it was way better, even though these are like D-level villains. That like some of these villains are like not major characters in the DC universe, and he changed a lot of them. A lot of them aren't the same as they were in the comics, but it worked for the film. Something else that I was worried about, I thought it was going to be too much like Guardians of the Galaxy, but he kind of made it its own entity, even though it has similar elements of Guardians. Because like one of my main worries as the movie started was John Cena. He was too much of a Drax for me, and it was kind of like a turnoff. I was like, oh great, this is going to literally be like DC's equivalent to Guardians. But as the movie progressed and like the characters, you saw like their what's what I'm looking for? Like you saw the characters, how they worked well together and like the team up. And he really did delve into the characters more. So I think John Cena actually grew on me as the movie went, and I appreciated what Gunn did with the movie.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I totally agree with what you said. John Cena also kind of grew on me as well. I like that the characters kind of hit each other off as well when they started working together, and yeah, exactly. Like they each have their own backgrounds, which they kind of delve into as the movie progressed. So it was kind of cool to get to see them, interacting with each other.
Yeah, and I think that much like everybody said, I went into it with a clear mind, and anybody who follows any of DC Extended Universe's properties knows that there's always a wave of reviews that come out way in advance, and they always set the expectation of it being really high, being the best movie they've ever seen. So you kind of gotta ignore that some, and all sorts of pre-notions and preconceptions going into it. So like I was able to watch all of that and went into it really clear-minded. And for what it's worth, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun film. As far as the comic book fan service that it did, I thought that was okay. I thought the performances were pretty solid. I thought with having major we're having cast members who are, very charismatic, such as John Cena and even Idris Elba at time, that even people who wasn't on people's radar to shine really did. And not to take away from Margot Robbie, but you almost know what to expect from her. But like with the three of those big juggernauts, you still had others that still made waves within the film. So I essentially felt that James Gunn did a good job in letting everybody have a space in order to really show their talent and show why they were casted, or try to give that character, whether if they had like very minimal role or lifespans in the film, able to give them opportunity to really show what that character is, or at least give you enough intrigue to want to research who that character is. So I thought the movie was just a fun ride that was very gory, unpredictable at times, and just created a lot of laughs. So for whether you've seen it in theaters or whether you watched it streaming, I think everybody had a good time with it one way or another. If you went in there saying, I'm just going to go see what this is about, and no expectations and expect for the best, and then there you go.
Yeah, pretty much. I want to kind of talk about the characters a little bit, because there were some great performances in this film. Idris Elba, like I like how he was able to kind of be this like leading man type of character, even though we don't get to see him do that kind of stuff in other movies. I feel like he got to do quite a lot in this film, even though he's not always the centerpiece in the movie, but he still acted like he, kind of the go-to guy when it comes to this stuff. Because I had no idea about Bloodsport, so I kind of had to do my own research. He was kind of like what they did with Will Smith in Deadshot, but it's kind of like not exactly like that character. Like he's totally different.
Yeah, I love the banter between him and Peacemaker. I think that really added a great fun element to the movie, like the back and forth, like especially that whole scene where they were like showing off and competing, like who's better, and you got to see like their fight styles and their gadgets and like more of their personalities. Like that was actually one of my favorite scenes. It was really funny.
Yeah, speaking of that scene too, for a minute I was like, okay, this is kind of reminiscing of Jason Statham and The Rock and Hobbs and Shaw. But they were able to kind of really make that kind of its own too. So like, I don't know, like I really enjoyed this film for what it's worth. I thought it was just a film that one, show versatility in James Gunn's craft, because it wasn't Guardians of the Galaxy and it wasn't typical dark DC Extended Universe film, and it wasn't David Ayer's vision or projected vision. It was really its own. So and then again, I think even when you think about people like King Shark, who was voiced by Sylvester Stallone, I mean, even that was enjoyable, So
I love
the voice acting work.
Shark.
Yeah, good time.
Yeah,
good time.
Yeah, I definitely loved King Shark, and I feel like the heart of the movie also, I got to give it up for Ratcatcher too. Like she won me over as well.
Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I was very confused with that. I was like, Ratcatcher, why? Like, Ratcatcher is like an enemy of Batman and like a very like low-level villain, and it was actually a dude that was like catching rats and stuff, and like he would like use his rats to do evil things, like deface people. So like it was really interesting how they like made him into like a lovable character. So it's like even though the Suicide Squad is technically like villains, like they still made them in a way that like, wow, like she actually is a person. Like you actually like, they made her very likable. So I kind of like that James Gunn was able to do that, to like take these villains that people don't really know about and kind of flip them and make them a little like lovable.
Yeah.
And I like that they had that Gunn was able to bring in some cameos for that as well. Speaking of Ratcatcher, spoilers if you guys have not yet seen the movie.
Too bad. It's been out for like,
if you
it's been out.
Yeah, too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, so Taika Waititi was in the movie. He was Ratcatcher 1, the father of Ratcatcher 2. And then I'm trying to think who else made a cameo.
Sean Gunn.
If you guys, Sean Gunn, he was
James Gunn's brother. He was two. He was Weasel and Calendar
Man. He was two characters. Calendar Man. Yeah. I didn't know he was Weasel until after the credits, but I did recognize him as a Calendar Man, so I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know if you guys spot.
Oh, sorry.
I thought Weasel was pretty funny. I mean, I know he had only like a few scenes here and there, and then he popped up in the end credits where we got to see him actually alive on that island. Oh, I gotta say, like the beginning of that movie, I was not expecting that they were going to kill off some of the characters. Like I know, they pretty much killed off almost everyone on the team. Like, it's like I like that they took a risk with this approach of the movie, because like with the Suicide Squad, like anyone's pretty much expendable. So like it's do or die situation.
Yeah, it's part of the narrative.
I like that they
kind of to be dispendable.
Yeah.
If they would have had them sticking around, then I would have was like, well, what's the whole point? What's the severity of the mission here if everybody just survives? So it set the tone for the mission, and it set the tone for the value of the team, where they don't value them. They're like, okay, cool. This is in them, So even with Michael Rooker's character, who I was just like, all right, I'm liking this guy.
Oh my god, Michael Rooker, like wow.
Yeah, and then it was like, okay, so cool. I'm glad that you like him, because that was part of the plan. We wanted you all to like him just so we can make sure we kill him off and destroy your hopes right away.
Yeah.
So, and quite frankly, to the point that like they killed so many people off, you start to think like, well, who's left? And then you forgot like, well, yeah, they did do promotional material for like 20 different characters. So like, there's still a whole other team waiting to go next. So, because at one point I was definitely like, so who's actually in this movie? I was like, oh, that's right. Idris Elba and John Cena are still in it. So we'll be seeing them at some point,
Yeah, they're like the backup team. Like in case the first team doesn't go so well, they'll send these guys in.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they were like they were the kamikaze squad. They went in there to go head on and to eventually all get killed for the other as a distraction for the other team to proceed. So it was cool to kind of set the tone for the rest of the movie.
I did not expect Flag to die.
I didn't either.
And
I liked Flag too, because I feel like he was given more to do, and he had more of a personality than the last movie. So I like that he was given more material the second time around.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, like there's like a bunch of like action set pieces, especially towards the end when they were going up against Starro, who was actually one of the main villains of the movie. I didn't expect Starro to be like this huge villain, because like for a villain like that, you would expect him to be like in like some like maybe like a Justice League type villain, but he ends up being a Suicide Squad villain. So I kind of like that they went in that direction with that character.
Well, this obviously reeks James Gunn. This is how this is the similarity between this and Guardians of the Galaxy of taking major villains and almost humanizing them in order to make it possible for this team of unlikely of a group of unlikely people put together as a team in order to be the supervillain. So that's why that last act, I was just kind of like, all right, I've seen this movie before, and but it was only like 10 more minutes of it, and he's like, okay, cool. So didn't make too much of it.
Yeah, definitely.
And that they included the Thinker, but they kind of made him a new character because a few people have used the mantle, the Thinker before, but they kind of like made him his own character for this. So that was pretty interesting. I like how they made him like controlling Starro in a sense, because remember at the end Starro was like, I was just happy like watching from the water. Like it was like it was pretty dark.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed some of the other characters, like Polka Dot Man. Like, I didn't know that much about Polka Dot Man going into it, but I was like, wow, this guy certainly has a lot of issues, a lot of mommy issues. So it was cool getting to see him, the actor playing him.
Yeah, he's great.
He's amazing. Like, he's done a bunch of other comic book movies. Yeah. I know he's done Ant-Man. He also was on The Flash, and he was on the animated The Long Halloween feature as well. So he's been popping up in a lot of comic book properties. But I like this character.
He's another one that they took a lot of creative freedom with, because they made him more of a metahuman. And in the comic, he's more of like a tech guy, and he's kind of like he doesn't have a lot of money, but I don't know how he like pays for his stuff. But when he can, it's like each of his dots kind of has like an electronic power, like something he can do with it. So like if it doesn't work out, it'll like self-explode. But it's kind of like this. They made it more so like it was part of who he is, like a metahuman, not just like a tech guy. So that was pretty cool how they did that.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, I thought he was my favorite. He was easily my favorite character. His whole demeanor and how like just nonchalant he was, and a lot of his rebuttals to the things that were being said. I just thought it was just pure comedy.
Like, I just thought of my mom. That was hilarious, actually. I love that.
And by the way, the lady who played his mom, Lynn Ash, who was just in that Fear Street trilogy, I just thought it was so funny. Of all people to play his mom, I was just like, I absolutely just seen this lady before, and I was like, where have I seen it before? So it was so funny seeing her in that capacity. But then I kept thinking, like, well, where have I seen her before? Because they tried to make her look like such a stereotypical white mother or grandmother of sense that it just made it even more hilarious. They knew exactly what they were doing with that, and it was beyond funny. And I thought even for her role, not even having lines, I thought she was just fantastic. And I could imagine the recording of this. And I could have even imagined her being casted for this. And they're just like, so you're going to play this mom and your son really hates you. And we're just going to just duplicate your face all over it because that's what he sees when he gets mad. And we need you to just make the most absurd faces of all time. That way we can use them. And she was like, okay, cool, sign me up.
Yeah, I didn't even know that firsthand. Other than Rick Flag, we also had a couple of other characters returning.
Boomerang died way too soon.
Yeah, he went out. They didn't change him one bit, so that was totally fine by me. I feel like they did a better job with Harley Quinn in this movie, with some of the stuff that she was given with Margot Robbie. So I totally enjoyed that, especially that sequence when she was romancing with the with one of the lieutenants. So that was pretty cool. You get to see more of how much she has grown as a character from the past couple of movies, and then seeing her in that action sequence, which was pretty cool. I don't know if you read about this, but I was reading that Margot Robbie actually ended up. She actually did try to escape in that chain with the key. Like she actually did that on her own. Like she had no help at all, which I found was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, if she's out here trying to prove that she can collect the check with stunts, then why not? You know. My thing about Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn. I was always afraid that because her fandom is so big that they would have made this a Harley Quinn movie, and I feel like they tried to get close to it at times. But again, with juggernaut of fully charismatic actors in this, such as John Cena and Idris Elba, and even like even minor people like Pete Davidson, and even Viola Davis has a stretch when she can just be fully blown of charisma.
She's amazing in whatever she does, Viola Davis.
Yeah,
I love her as Waller.
Yeah.
I just think it was just too much star power for her for Margot to even think that she can just be like the main focus of this movie. And I think that that's a task. I mean, in any other franchise or something, whenever you bring a big cast member in, it's always the balance of like, does this character overshadow everything else that this film represents? Do they work cohesive together? Or do one person just completely outshine everybody and everybody else is left in the dirt? And this is where I think that this was a good mixture of people and it did work. And, not that I enjoy doing this, but I think this also is like very similar to Marvel properties such as Avengers, where you have a phenomenal cast members of 1 billion people, but everybody's able to really show their worth in the film. And that's what was important, because I think Harley Quinn fandom may be top tier. I think there may be no one bigger besides Spider-Man in regards to the cult fan base. And for this movie to not try to center around her when that's an easy out, they didn't.
Yeah, I actually loved the escape scene. I felt like I was happy that they gave her they didn't just over sexualize her. Like I kind of didn't care for the sex scene. I didn't really think it was needed. But at least this movie still did a better job of showing her abilities rather than just her sex appeal. So like they showed her like aerobics and like gymnastic abilities, and like her just escaping like that, like felt like a very Harley Quinn moment. And then like her gunplay, because like Harley Quinn uses guns too. So I like absolutely loved her entire escape scene, and that she did it on her own. And then she's like, "Oh, hey guys!" Like I love that. That was very Harley Quinn. So I think they did a great job. And like you were just saying, like they did a great balance, even giving her like her own moment to shine. It still wasn't like overwhelming where it was like, oh great, another Harley Quinn movie. It was kind of like everyone, even the like Ratcatcher had like moments to shine. So I think Gunn did a really good job with that.
And I like that they showed that, how insane she can be, because I feel like we don't get to see enough of that play into her characterization in the other movies. So I feel like with this one, they kind of did a good job showcasing that, especially in that escape scene where rather than you see blood splattering, like you see the flowers coming out in the background. So it's like you're kind of in her mind, like in her point of view per se.
Yeah,
actually that ties into something I was going to say that I liked about Gunn, was that he gave it like a very artsy feel. Like I even liked the word pops, like when it showed like the time changes, like to go back to like different scenes. I like that because that comics do that, so it felt very comic booky, and I really enjoyed that aspect. And like it took away from like the violence and stuff, and it gave like a fun comedic balance. So it kind of like worked well with the way the film was going. Like everything wasn't just blood and splatter, it was also like funny. So I think that was a great element that he added.
Yeah, I thought the effects were great. Like you don't notice that much of the CGI that much, especially with characters like King Shark or Starro. Like it feels like there was like so much detail that was given into putting that up on the screen. So I like that that Gunn was able to utilize all that especially with all the amazing action set pieces that he put out.
Yep.
So overall, what would you grade this movie? Like what I guess on a scale from 1 to 10.
All right, so here's what I'm gonna say, because I think this is important, because as much as we focus on a lot of the positives here, and that's fine. The big hot take that I didn't like coming from this film is that people say this is the best DC film that they've
Not at
seen
all.
of all time. I don't agree, because while this film was fantastic in terms of comic book fan service, fantastic for just the average plain Jane who wants to go see a film, for the redemption of the first film, for the balance of it being a streaming film, vice versa, it being a theatrical release. I thought it had a lot of good going for it. However, the big thing for me was just that, well, that's cool and all, but like, it really didn't have. I feel like beyond it just being a film, I feel like it didn't also serve a purpose. I guess that's what I can say. Or like, nothing from this film I could take from out of it to desire to want more. Like, I felt like when you're attached to a universe, the DC extended universe, then it's the idea of like, well, what's next? Or how does this connect to this? And like, although they're setting up a potential sequel with John Cena, cool, it still shows you, it still almost stands on its own, where this has been the struggle with the DC extended universe, is trying to find, trying to get these movies to all be cohesive and trying to have like a common goal going forward. So like, as a critic, I thought this film was entertaining and fun. Not to the point memorable that I'm gonna be wanting to go back to see this in a couple of years. It had a lot of bright spots, a lot of good moments, a lot of good acting, a lot of laughs, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still not the best film, because Wonder Woman still exists, and that's easily still the best film that DC has done, because that film was powerful. It had a meaning behind it. It was almost the start of good things to come with the DC universe. And I mean, that can be for your interpretation of what you liked and what you didn't like. But eventually we all got to get to other good properties that came from out of it. And then at the end of the day, Gal Gadot performance trumped everything and everyone that was in Suicide Squad. So, I just think that it was a fun movie for what it's worth. If I'm not comparing it, I'm cool with it. And to rate it, I give it like an 8.5, because it was a good watch.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I think.
What about you, Nadia?
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. Like, it was fun. It was great. Like, I absolutely loved it. And like I said, I go into DC movies very open-minded. But like the points you just said, like, it's not something like I'm like, oh my God, like I have to see it again. It's kind of, I don't know how to explain, but like it kind of went the Marvel route. Like, say like some like Marvel's like, I'm not talking about like the best movies. I'm talking about like maybe like the Thor movies or like the Ant-Man movies. Like, it's very safe. It takes a very like formulamatic approach to the movie. So it's like, all right, we have like likable characters, we have the comedic element, we have brutality, we have action, we have some Easter eggs, but there was nothing that was like, oh my God moments for me. There was nothing that was like, I can't wait to see what they do with this. And like you said, tying in, that's DC's problem. They don't know what they want to do. They're just marketing off Margot Robbie because she's successful. So it's kind of like, how is this going to tie into a universe? How is this going to be something memorable? And I just felt like it was very safe. It's not top tier for me. Like, I definitely enjoyed it. I loved it, but it's not like Superman or like a Batman or the first Wonder Woman to me.
Yes.
Yeah, totally valid points. I was gonna say that. I mean, it's never gonna touch the same way as the first few DC films like Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman's still considered, one of the better DCEU films. But to me, I feel like this might be kind of a step in the right direction with what Warner Brothers is doing with these properties, because they're letting filmmakers, do their thing without any interference, like just letting them put their vision out there for these films. So I feel like a big points for that with studio. But yeah, I would say yeah, this is considered an improvement, but maybe not my top tier films out of what DC has done. But overall, yeah, it was pretty fun. Entertainment, just basically your summer blockbuster. To me, it was great. So I guess if I wanted to rate this, I'll probably give it a 8, maybe 8.5 out of 10 as well, just for effort.
Awesome. We all agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely a good step in the right direction for them. So,
Yeah.
I
Because
hate
that's
to be
what they should do. Because just let them do their own thing.
Yeah,
don't fix it.
Yeah, we saw with the Snyder Cut. Let them do their own thing, damn it.
Yeah.
Trust certain people, shall I say.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys have any questions at the end?
Yeah, there was definitely flaws in the story for sure.
Yeah.
and I just feel like that's why I'm saying I don't want to be the one thing I didn't want to do with this film was that I didn't want to be overly critical. I didn't want to do the cold comparison thing and ranking and all of that whatnot. I thought the film was fun for what it was, and yes, there was going to be issues with it. There's always issues in every film in terms of comic book being politically correct, and whether the psychology of characters or just the flat out plot. Yes, there's always going to be things there. Yes, I know people were talking about how did King Shark get the implant when his skin is can't be penetrated. So we seen he took a bunch of ammunition to the head, but if you didn't know, now you know. So how did he get the implant? So I get there's things like that, but overall I wasn't bothered by none that it just left me so mad that it just took me out of the film. It was just a film where I think James Gunn, who were able to really put together a team of folks that you may not know who they are, make them likable to you, make them enjoyable to you, make sure everyone get a chance to shine, and then let's give you an adventure behind it. So I can't complain about it, and I'm glad it's able to be streamed, because I think that's a good tactic for a film like this, to say all right, seeing the big screen for what it is, now I just want to just kind of put it on and pay partial attention to it, but overall I know the parts that I'm keying in for, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah, definitely. And we said earlier that John Cena is going to be headlining his own series based on Peacemaker.
HBO, right?
Yeah, on HBO Max. I know they finished filming that already for the first season, so I think that's supposed to be coming out next year. And they kind of teased that towards the end of the movie, after you would have thought that he died, but it turns out that he actually survived his gunshot wound with blood sport. So we'll be seeing more of him in that series. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with his character, because I understand that DC is trying to do all these put all these characters into their own thing, with I know they're doing a Batgirl movie for HBO Max. They're also doing one for Blue Beetle. So they're taking chances, and it's something that I'm actually curious to see what they end up doing.
Yep.
Yeah. I was curious about all the bird killing. They, for some reason, kept killing birds.
Yeah.
And then like there's like an Easter egg theory, but he's dead now. So about Savant, that something happens with like the birds of prey. But I don't know if it's a real Easter egg or not because he's dead. So
Yeah. I
And
don't know about
then-
that either.
what else? Weasel. For me, I'm kind of like confused with what route they're going with him. I felt like they were just trying to give us a Rocket Raccoon kind of character, like back to
Yeah.
the whole Guardians comparison, because he's a human, he's not an animal, and he's just like a loser that was like bullied and called a weasel and like a murderer that killed children. So I'm like curious to how they're gonna try to make him this lovable, likable character. Everyone's like, "Oh, Weasel, Weasel," and I'm like, I don't know what they're doing with that, but I guess they're just trying to give us like a Rocket Raccoon kind of character.
Yeah. Feel look more like a gag or something.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think we kind of touched upon like how he expanded upon all the characters. So that was one thing I really enjoyed.
Yeah. You guys have any final thoughts before we?
Yeah, I think my only thing is that again, I think that for anybody that hasn't seen it, obviously go check it out, have fun with it. It's a good ride, it's good fun, a lot of gore, unexpected, a lot of unpredictability in it. In regards to the plot, in regards to people that you may find enjoyable, and whether you know these characters or this property or not, I think it's for everybody. When I say everybody, not like kids, but like for either you're a comic book enthusiast or not. And yeah, regardless of what you hear from critics and whatever, or press, whatever it may be, I still think it's one of those ones where you're like, yeah, you can consume what people are saying, but still go in there and, you know, determine and make your mind up for your own on it. So it's a good film, and you will by all means find something about it that you like. As long as you're not like, I don't know, as long as you don't have like no phobias of nothing like rats or like starfish or anything of that sort.
Yeah, I like that it was like super bloody and gory, but it was still very like whimsical and cartoonish. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that Gunn did a great job, and like you said, it's a really fun movie. So just go in, don't have crazy expectations, and take it for what it is. It's definitely a lot of fun, and the cast did a great job. I actually ended up liking everyone at some point.
Amazing. Well, you heard it from us, guys. Let us know what you thought of the Suicide Squad. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Definitely leave us your comments. Definitely check out Gotham Geek Girl on her channel and all her socials. Same with Big Gold Belt Media as well. Definitely check out the Nerd Blast on all of our content. So make sure you tune into all of our updates as well on our YouTube channel. But I want to thank you guys so much for being here, talking about Suicide Squad. And thank you. Thank you guys for joining us.
All right. Peace out.
Take care, guys. Till next time.